Este anuncio es sobre la oferta de AT&T para el nuevo iPhone 15 Pro, que es garantizada, aunque ese no es el caso con otros anuncios.
Todos caerán a tus pies. Con el jabón, enamórale.
Spoiler alert, no funciona. En AT&T, lo que decimos va en serio. Descubre cómo obtener el iPhone 15 Pro con titanio por cuenta nuestra con intercambio elegible. Conectar lo cambia todo. Visita tt.com/iPhone para más detalles sobre la garantía de la promoción de intercambio para clientes nuevos y existentes. Disponible por tiempo limitado, sujeto a términos y restricciones.
Hello, and welcome to episode 148 of The Nerd Out. I am Lisa.
I'm Ritzy.
We're girls, we nerd out. We're here to talk to you and impart our wisdom today. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can email us, info@thenerdout.com. We'd love to hear from you. We have a website, and we are a part of the Word to Your Mama network at WTYMAMA on the socials.
That is correct.
Here we are. So soon after the last time we talked.
We're recording super soon after the last time we talked. This will not be dropped as soon as the last time we talked.
But so soon.
And this will be, we just came back. We had a little respite, a little, siesta, and then we were back last month, and then this month in December will be the final nerd out of 2023
of the year.
The year.
Closing it. We're going to close it out strong. Yeah,
that's what we do. And then, 2024, we'll see what happens, but we're here now, 2 in a row. We were on a good kick. We were like the beginning of the year, bam, 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 bam. And then life happens, traveling, health, but we're good and we're back.
Yes, we are.
And we're here.
We're here. Yeah. And I mean, what better way to close out the year than being able to talk to you lovely people who are very kindly listening. I even had a friend of mine who is a longtime fan of ours who messaged me and was like, holy shit, I didn't know you guys were still doing the Nerd Out. Yeah. So, we got one. We got one back. Come on, people. Got to reel them in.
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking about it yesterday as I was posting for my other shows that came out. And I was just like, we started the Nerd Out a long ass time ago. But it was a hobby. Like, we weren't doing all the things that you're supposed. I mean, it's fucking a full-time job now to promote and be amongst, because everybody and their mother has a podcast now. But when we started, there weren't that many.
No.
We were getting Apple comments, people that we like literally didn't know. Like, they literally could, because people you could find us because there weren't that many. Yeah. And then let alone a girl one, a female one, and we're nerding out. Like, I was looking at old posts and I was like, people could find us. Now it's just like nerd this, nerd that, girls nerd, blah, 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 blah. And, but we've been here, man. We've been here for a long time.
We've been here. Don't call it a comeback.
We've been here for years.
I would also like to point out that we outlasted the our Nerd Out nemesis, the restaurant in Portland that was called the Nerd Out. And
they were trying to take our shit.
Yeah, they were trying to roll up on our shit and like what? No, don't do that.
Nah, B. Nah.
So
you can't roll up on the Nerd Out. Like, we're still here. We're like the cockroach of podcasts. We won't die. We'll never die.
Never. No.
They'll try to take us out, but we're still here.
This is 100% true. So suck it, Nerd Out in Portland. Guess you should have picked a different name.
Yeah, you should have looked first. You should have done your research.
Yeah.
Because you wanted our domain, but we got it, man. We got it like, when was that?
1,000 years ago.
No, totally.
Yeah. When you come for the queens, you better not miss. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Please believe it. Please believe it. So one thing we didn't talk about last time that I wanted to talk about, and I think this is a good one for the last episode of the season of the year, is, we talked about, being Gen X of a certain age bracket. Perimenopausal, I'm emotional about everything, but also it makes you at the age that I'm at. For me personally, I'm thinking about so many different things, and I could cry at the drop of a pin. Like I can cry in anything. And when I saw this, I downloaded it. I think I reposted it, and I showed the family, and I've been thinking about it ever since. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's a video of him talking about, like, he wants to be buried when he dies, right? Because he's like, be a part of the fauna, that give back to the fauna that I ingested during my lifetime, and da 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 da. And he was talking about cremation, which is the way I want to go out, right? He said, when you're cremated, and I don't know, people, it's him talking about it, so I'm assuming it's for reals that he said this, or some of it. But he says when you're cremated at the crematorium or whatever, that your energy, whatever you feel that is, but your energy as a person gets released into space forever at the speed of light. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to stay on this earth. Because who's to say how long this earth, the way we're treating it, who's to say how long it's going to be here? So I'm just going to be poof. No. Cremate me. Thoughts on that? How do you want to go out? Burial? Cremation?
I think I'm a little surprised by his proclamation of that, because I think it's a little more complicated. First of all, whatever your energy, whatever you want to call it, hopefully that shit's gone by the time they shove you in an oven. You know what I mean? Like, that's gone. So unless it's a bizarre murder situation. So I feel like when you die, that's that.
You're gone.
Whatever. Yeah.
Your soul.
Yep. But like, that doesn't, like, when they burn you up, like, a lot of you is released into the atmosphere, which then eventually comes down into the ground when it rains, when when molecules get together and decide to do something. Like, you don't just float around endlessly. Some of you is going to be in the earth. Some of you is going to be in space.
He's saying that because the infrared that happens, and the atoms and the energy from your atoms, from your particles, are released. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to hold on to it, because I was like, yes, I want to be up in, like, my soul is up for sure. For me, my loved ones, like when the supernatural bear was little, so many people were dying. Space. And I was like, oh, they went to space, because their souls went to space.
Yeah.
But now it's like next level particles of my bones, of my rickety raggedy bones. Like I was just like, yeah, I'm all about it. And then it made me think even more. For sure, I don't want to be all up in the earth, full blown buried.
I don't mind. I don't object to being buried, but I don't want to be buried in a cemetery. And I don't want to be like embalmed and in a coffin and all this sort of stuff. Like, just drop me in the ground, wrap me in a cloth and drop me on the ground.
Right.
If that's what we're going to do.
I want to be cremated. And I've always said, if I want to be cremated, and then whoever's like, if, supernatural bear, hopefully, he's alive. Like, I want him to go on an adventure. It's going to be in the will, and spread a little ashes in my favorite joints, like my favorite spots of the world.
Yeah,
in the water too. Like, put me, like, go to Japan, go to Tokyo, go by the water, put me up in there. I want to be like floating all around, like in the wind, and I don't know. So I've been thinking about that recently, and I was like, yeah, man, space, speed of light. And then my, energy from my atoms can land in some other galaxy, and be a part of little part of something. I don't know. It's just, just being at that age, it's like, yeah, I thought I had more time.
I still have a lot of living to do, please believe. But I was thinking recently, I think I was getting a massage. And I was thinking, like, my mind was sort of wandering, and it was like, and it was sort of like not half asleep, but just like brain. I was in a bit of an altered state because it just felt like really great. And I was thinking about, like, what would happen if I died tomorrow? And it was the very first time in my whole life where I was like, you know what? I got a lot of good living in.
Yeah.
Because normally I'm like, fuck that, and like raging against the machine. But it was the first time that I was like, it's going to happen to everybody. Maybe I got a lot of good living in. So just so that you know, if I walk out of the door and I'm struck by lightning, you have to be like, damn it, Lisa, why did you articulate that out loud? But I did.
Okay, I'll remember. And we remember here, we'll have video and audio.
Yeah, and be like, remember when Lisa hypothesized about her death and how she was ready to go and had nothing left to live for? Yeah, here it is. No, that's not it at all. And I thought about how, like, old people, I just have never understood when old people are like, I'm ready to die. I am never ready to die. I've never been ready to die in my whole life. I hope I never am.
No.
But yeah, I was like, oh, maybe maybe you can approach it with peace.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
For another nerd out, just because, we nerd about so many different things on here. If you're new to this, just know we nerd about everything. And right now we're nerding out about death. Okay. I'm part of this mastermind, and one of my accountability buddies, we haven't met in person. We've only done a Zoom. I want to learn more, but she says she's a death doula.
Oh, uh-huh. I have heard of these things, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to learn more, and I will do some research, and I'll come back with some information.
Yeah, there's another, I'll drop a link to it into our show notes. There's a woman, Barbara Carnes, I believe is her name, Karnes. She's a nurse, RN. And she is considered kind of the biggest expert in, like, end of life care, hospice, whatever, and has written a couple of very short but incredibly, like, super high impact books, like pamphlets really, for people who are caring for someone who is near death. And it's really interesting stuff, like the things that she like goes into about, like, what do you expect? Like, what should you expect the last days, hours, minutes of someone's life?
Ooh.
And also sort of like words of wisdom, because I think lots of people are like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. What am I doing? Like, nobody teaches me this anymore. 1,000 years ago, or like 3,000 years ago, you kind of knew how to care for people who were dying, or else, I don't know, you just like left them on the tundra and peaced out. I don't know. But, like, now it's just a bunch of dumbasses like me who are trying to figure it out. But her writing is really interesting, really eloquent for people who are interested in what, like, end of life and caring for people at the end of their life looks like.
Very interesting. Yes, put that link in the show notes.
Sounds like a death doula, kind of.
Yeah. And you and Ranger Ted, you guys finished Reservation Dogs. You haven't finished it?
We got halfway through the last season, and we were, like, kind of annoyed with it. And we were like, do we keep watching? I don't know.
Oh, it was fantastic. But I think I don't know if it was the last season, I think it was the season before, where the grandma passes away, and they're all and they're singing the songs, and and I was just like, that's the way. That's the way to go out. Like, I'm on my deathbed, play all my fucking favorite shit.
Yeah.
If they're still alive, bring them over. Have a DJ spin. I don't give a fuck. Like, have my favorite people. No bad energy. Have my favorite people. Eat my favorite foods. Tell me the shit.
Yeah.
And I go off.
Yeah.
Release. Such a that was such a beautiful. I'm super bummed still that show was gone. But I don't know if you follow the cast and the director, but it's getting on all kinds of best of 2023 show lists, as it should.
Okay.
As it should.
I really liked. It's 4 seasons total, right?
I don't remember.
3. I like
maybe 3.
I loved the first one, and then like kind of decreasingly still Head and Shoulders better than 99.9% of show that's on television.
Right.
But the last season, I was like, I think that what it was is the last season was less ensemble-y.
Yes, it was individual stories.
Yeah, and I was like, I love the individual stories, but I just love them together so much. And I was getting frustrated. So I was like, oh, do I just like leave and remember what I wanted to remember, or should I finish it? I guess I should finish it.
You should finish it because it's individual stories, because they're wrapping it up. They know it's the last. It's a series finale. So they're giving everyone a little shine. They're also taking this opportunity like, oh, we're about to be out. Who's to say when we're going to get this opportunity to have indigenous stories on such a huge platform? So let's fucking tell these people who probably will never have access to this or never take the time to research themselves the fucked up shit, the trauma, the generational trauma that all of these kids are dealing with, right? So you take it to the past, you take it to the present, and then you wrap it up as shit needs to happen, right? Like people move on but like you've always had this, and also together the history of your people is this. And I think as a person of color and first generation, I think it resonates with so many of us. Like you're just like, yeah, and you're like, and you're just like, okay, tears, joy, laughter, and that remembering being that age and making moves and trying to break free from your entire family trying to keep you down. So I in some downtime, I would recommend you finishing it. Okay. And I think I'm hoping it would make sense. You might have a different experience, but I'm hoping at the end it'll make sense. You're like, wrapped it up.
Okay. Ranger Ted is in Las Vegas coming up for like 4 days for his friend's birthday. Oh. So I will watch it then.
Yeah, because you can watch it on the big TV instead of the laptop. Yeah. Sweet. So what are we talking about TV? Since the last time we spoke.
I haven't done much TV because first of all, we had a big power outage here that lasted for like half a day. And I felt like I was then behind on doing everything that I wanted to get done this weekend, including watching some television. I've been reading a lot lately, so a little less TV. And there was a movie that I just watched, but I can't even remember what it was. And I'm gonna I don't know. I'll look for it and see if I can remember. Maybe I'll text Ranger Ted, see if he can remind me. But I don't have a whole lot to talk about on the TV front. Okay. What about you?
So one thing I forgot to talk about last time was the series finale of Starstruck, which is on Max. And I loved it, and the way it ended is fantastic. If you haven't started that, TI, you should that's a show you should. And then you're so lucky because so fortunate you could binge it. But it stars, is written and created by Rose Matafeo. She's Maori from New Zealand, but it's based in London, I think, UK. Okay. And it is fantastic. The co-star, so she's a regular girl and she ends up having a relationship with like a super mega star Indian, of Indian descent, Pakistani Indian descent. And
Okay.
it's just, I think you would love it. It's great. And I'm super bummed that it's over, but they wrapped it up. And I was like, yeah, that's realistic. Sad, but realistic. So
Okay.
I wanted to, because, so much time had passed, and I wanted to say that it's so great to see, something written and created on that side of the pond by, a woman of color starring, people of color. And yeah, so that's on Max. I believe it's 3 seasons.
Okay.
But check it out. Anything else? Oh, one last thing, because this is called the Nerd Out here. And I talked about the Gilded Age, right?
Yes.
And I love it because I'm learning so much about that time in U.S. history, in that time of New York, right?
Uh-huh.
T.I., maybe you knew, but I had no fucking idea. The Brooklyn Bridge.
Uh-huh.
The Brooklyn Bridge at that time during the Gilded Age was considered to be one of the, wonders of the world that was being built, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Did you know that it was mostly and finished off by a woman engineer?
I don't think I did.
Yes. So and then I listen, because I nerd out around these parts. I listen to the podcast, and then they talk about what's true, what wasn't true, da 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 da. So it was started off. It took like mad years, right? They had to design it, da 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 da. It was started off by, I forgot homeboy's name. He got, I think, tetanus. He got he was building it and working on it. So he got tetanus, right, and died. So then his son, who also studied engineering in the same field, because back in the day, you would do what your family does. So he took over. So what little did they know is that him and his wife both went over to Europe and studied engineering, all this shit, structural engineering, civil engineering, blah, 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 blah. Then they come back. Pops dies. He has to take over. I forget so then he dies, and I forget what he dies of, or why I think he got sick of something, maybe a disease or something. But she was right there, hand in hand. They would work on it together. But no one would want to. This is the 18-something, 1850-something, right? No one wants to do anything, let alone cross a major bridge, if they know a woman is in charge of it, right?
Yeah.
So the whole time she tried to keep it from people, only those that knew and trusted her, right, were in the house, because her office was a house, and they'll be like, we need to have a meeting with him. They're like, well, he's out of town. So they were like, try not to say that he was dead.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Emily Warren Roebling.
Huh.
So she's an American socialite, builder, and businesswoman who was largely responsible for the guiding the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge from 1869 to 1883. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
This whole time. We didn't know.
I think that she or who was it? There was some other really interesting story that I heard recently about another woman engineer that you know what? It was the woman who was, I think it's drafting. The woman who drafted all of those like gorgeous drawings of Frank Lloyd Wright houses that are like, I mean, the houses themselves are iconic, but even like the drafting images are so beautiful. Like gorgeous. People have them as fine art prints. And she did them all, and he always took credit for it. And she would secretly put her name in, like would hide her name in the drawing, which feels like something, I'm going to date myself right here, which feels like something that you would like do in a highlights book at the doctor's office while you're waiting, like find the hidden words. So, but she would like put her name in there and put it in there as sort of a like FU.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Women are still getting fucked till this, like now. We're still getting fucked now. But imagine the shit that she had to go through, the links that they had to go through to keep it so that, and we, so much so that we don't even know.
Uh-huh.
I was just up on it. right by it. And all these years. Something so great. And then watching the show was like, they were like, no one would want to walk across a bridge, but they wouldn't think it would be sound, and it was like one of the biggest great wonders of the world at that time.
Crazy. Another kind of interesting story about a woman who ran things is President Wilson, 1919, he suffered a stroke and his wife essentially served out the rest of his term and was behind the scenes and was like, oh, my husband's not seeing anyone, but I'm acting as his secretary. And so they would be like, okay. And people did not like it. The men did not like it. But she'd be like, well, I'm going to go talk to him. And then apparently he was far sicker than anyone ever knew. He couldn't speak, he couldn't whatever. So she was the president for 2 years, 3 years.
See?
Yeah, nuts. Ladies.
We got to take up space, man. Take up space. And the fact that shit's just coming out now, it's crazy on so many fronts. Anything else on the TV front?
The one thing that I want to talk about, I think I mentioned it a while ago, is an anime series on Netflix called Arcane, which takes place in the League of Legends universe. And the animation is so beautiful, and I tried so hard to get into it because people were like, oh my God, you don't even need to know anything about League of Legends to love this. It's so great. It's fantastic. Oh my God, the best anime. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I was like, okay, great. And I probably got 3 or 4 episodes in, and I was like, I just don't give a shit.
Do you want to support original content that supports diverse voices? Why not support Word to Your Mama? You're listening to it right now. Become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/WTYM. There are 4 patron levels to choose from, including Good Looking Out, I'm Down, Hell Yeah, and Please Believe It. Benefits include patron shoutouts, exclusive patron-only content, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/WTYM to take your support to the next level. Gracias.
This is your friendly reminder to take a deep breath. Este es tu recordatorio para que respires profundo. Take a deep breath in. Inhala profundo. Exhale as you observe your breath, letting all the air out. Exhala, observando tu exhalación, dejando salir todo el aire. Would you like to help me reach my mission of teaching meditation to 1 million children? ¿Te gustaría ayudarme a alcanzar mi misión de enseñar meditación a 1 millón de niños? I invite you to join me in the Decide Balance Oasis, a safe space where families can find bilingual meditations and mindfulness practices and so much more. Te invito a que te unas conmigo en el Decide Balance Oasis, un espacio seguro donde las familias pueden encontrar meditaciones bilingües y prácticas de atención plena y mucho más. Go to decidebalance.com for more details. I'll see you in the Oasis. Visita decidebalance.com para obtener más información. Nos vemos en el Oasis.
But what I was going to say, regardless of how much you heard about Arcane, another reason that I haven't been, a somewhat related reason that I haven't been watching as much television is because I'm back on the World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
And playing some video games. A friend and coworker of mine was like, hey, let's go play some Warcraft. I was like, no, man, I can't do that again. I quit cold turkey many years ago. No, can't do it. It's hard. It got to be too hard. He's like, no. We're going to go play the classic version, the old version. We're not going to play all that new content bullshit that you need to have a PhD in video games in order to fucking play. Cause I'm like, I'm a filthy casual. Do not make me if I need 100 different add-ons to track what the fuck is going on. No.
Yeah.
So we're playing old school WoW. And
nice.
been playing a lot of that. That has been a lot. That and reading has been more of my free time lately.
I love that. And that's better, I think.
I mean,
nice little break, you know?
Yeah, it's a break. It's a break.
Or are you stressed? Or are you stressed playing?
No, it's great. I find myself like I know that there are other video games that have like a world that is as giant and immersive and layered and all of that. But
Right.
I don't know, I just haven't found one. I've played like a number of Skyrim and all that sort of stuff, and really this is my jam. It's super fun. So it's been great. And like the first 20 levels is a grind because you're trying to get to buy a mount. So something that you can travel at like 3 times the speed of like running everywhere. So once you get that, you're like, oh my gosh, I have a steed, a trusty steed. Now I can go everywhere and do everything. So
nice.
It's been pretty fun.
That's awesome.
I know.
Sweet. Okay, so what about movies? What are we talking about here?
Well, there are a couple of movies that I'm thinking about seeing and may have seen by the time this airs. That is both Napoleon and the new Hunger Games movie. New Hunger Games, probably not, even though I've heard it's gotten very good reviews and apparently it's big with the Gen Zers.
Ooh.
Who knew?
Oh, no.
And Napoleon, here's the thing. So I love Ridley Scott. He's one of my favorite directors. And this Napoleon feels a lot like Kingdom of Heaven, which came out 20 years ago and 15 years ago. And it was like Kingdom of Heaven was a pretty good movie, but then he released a director's cut that was like an hour longer. And people were like, this movie is fucking amazing. I can't believe they released the shorter version. And that's kind of how I feel about Napoleon, because he said in a couple of interviews that Apple's going to let him release a director's cut of it that's going to be like an extra hour. And I was like, do I just wait for the Ridley Scott version?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time is of the essence, right? Our time and energy is of the essence. If you're going to do it in one shot.
Yeah. So the only movie that I've seen lately is an oldie but a goodie, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, with Tina Fey, Martin Freeman, Margot Robbie from 2016, I think.
Oh, shit.
She plays a journalist who goes to Afghanistan to cover the conflict there. And I mean, it's actually kind of a dramedy. Like there are moments of humor that are actually quite funny. But it's largely pretty serious, as you can imagine. Yeah. So I actually really recommend that.
No.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
I don't remember it really. I'm looking at the poster and it has, star-studded cast.
Yeah, it's a great cast. The writing is great and clever. It's like Margot Robbie before I think I knew who Margot Robbie was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Martin Freeman is super funny and kind of a dick and really charming. And he is kind of adorable.
He's great.
Yeah.
Where did you see it on?
Just watched it at home.
I know, but what service?
You know what? We watched it it's on something that's free.
Oh. Like Tubi or something?
It might have been Tubi or Freevee. Let me tell you, I would pay $2.99 or whatever they want for this fucking movie to not have to watch the commercials. But that was not in the cards. I think I was only able to find the freemium version.
The freemium. Okay.
Yeah. But really good. Totally recommend to people. It's great.
Nice. And Margot Robbie hasn't aged. Like, looking at the poster, she looks exactly the same. I was like, what is she going to look like? Super young? She looks the same. She doesn't look younger. She looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah. She's older than I thought that she was. So she's
How old is she?
I mean, she's in her, I think, late 30s.
Let me see.
She's struck a bargain with
She's
Satan
33.
for sure. Oh, 33. Okay. But still, I thought she was younger. I don't know.
Yeah, I
She
thought she was
looks like
younger.
she looks like she's going to be 25 forever.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. And I like her
Knock yourself
vibe.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Movies for me,
Uh-huh.
the only thing that I've seen since we spoke, which I cannot recommend this enough. On Netflix, it's called Frybread, Face and Me. It's directed and written by Billy Luther. And the gist is a young boy from San Diego is sent to spend the summer with his a Navajo grandmother on the reservation in Arizona, where he meets and connects with his cousin. You're like, oh, okay. No. This, I think it's semi-biographical because I think it shows pictures of him.
Uh-huh.
But he's this is the 80s, kids. And he's in San Diego, gonna go to the reservation. Like, he's Navajo. He is LGBTQIA, but just figuring it out.
Uh-huh.
Right? And they don't, he's wearing the woman's cowboy hat. He's all about Stevie Nicks, and they're like, Stevie Nicks is a witch. And the trailer is cute because he runs outside and he has his Fleetwood Mac shirt and he goes, no! Like, it's just like, it is super cute. You'll cry, you'll laugh. I was crying because the grandmother, and it's also really beautiful because there's some parts, that the grandmother, she doesn't know English. All she knows is their native language. So when certain parts, what I thought it was really beautiful because he or they, I don't know what you would call him at the time, little boy, he doesn't understand it. So when she's talking to him, there's no translation. So you just get the essence, like he would, right? He's like, I don't understand her, but he like, sometimes I do, even though I don't understand the language. But then when she's talking to the cousin, then it's, there's subtitles and stuff. And I thought that was beautiful. I totally recommend it. It's an easy watch. And just like, yeah. And Taiki Wakiki is the executive producer. Array, which is Homegirls. I can't think of her name right now. Queen Sugar, Oprah, it's her production company, Array Films. So they released it, and it just came out literally like November 24th. And it was like hitting like number 4, number 3 on Netflix, and it is super cute. So I recommend.
Okay, that's great. I have just bookmarked that, and I am going to check that out.
Yeah, we can discuss in the new year, if you will.
Uh-huh.
So books. What are we talking about in the books?
I have been reading a book which I highly recommend, which is it's called The Fifth Season, and it's like it's a fantasy book. It came out in 2015, and I only learned about it because a bunch of people, I have found myself onto Book Talk, and people always say when they talk about like their favorite fantasy novels, this is on here. It won the Hugo Award in 2016 for Best Novel, and it has it's a 3-novel series, and they're all out. So you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then they're going to break your heart because they're never going to put out final books. Looking at you, George R.R. Martin. And it's actually really interesting because they're kind of vague about it, but I think that everyone in it I think the entire cast of characters are people of color. And like, there is one person who's like a freak, and they talk about how pale her skin is. I'm like 2/3 of the way through. So I'm like, I just think that I think it's very matter of fact that it just takes place in a world where most of the people are darker skinned. And like, I kind of like that it's like, it's something, the woman who wrote it is a Black woman. And you can kind of tell, like, there's definitely some like culture, like interesting, I would say kind of like African-ish culture that's woven into it. It's really good. I am enjoying it, and I'm almost done with that book.
Nice.
So that is my recommendation.
I love it. I just saw a photo of her and I like the cover. every age must come. The 5th season, every age must come to an end. I'm going to bookmark and check it out. Gracias.
Yeah. It's interesting about like they have these towns that it's like a caste system. So if you are a like there's breeders, there's this, there's that, and it's just like it was such a like fresh and different perspective from a lot of fantasy, which like I just get so tired of like the princess and the this and the and so it was really creative and really well done, and it's won a bunch of awards, and yeah, I like it.
Nice. Love that. Is it YA or adult?
I would say it's adult, but it's not out of the YA. Like a YA person there's nothing in it that's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I would say it's pretty long and dense, and it switches viewpoints a lot, which might not be like super YA friendly, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know why it couldn't be.
Okay, I'll check it out. I might, that might be check it to see who reads it if it's audio, because I want to see who does a good job. So for books, I've been on a rampage because I've been listening to them, and I've been on several road trips up north, and just so since we spoke, I finished 3 books.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. Lessons in Chemistry, which we discussed, and I had just started, but I finished the show, which is lovely. But now that I read the book, I liked it a lot, but I don't know if because I was heavily influenced, envisioning, but I liked it a lot. I wish now that the show's over and I listened to the book afterwards, I wish that they changed the story in some places so much that I think it would have been way more satisfying if they would have done what they did in the book in the series. And you'll know what I'm talking about once you watch it, and then we can discuss. But that's what I'll say. But I really love it. And let me reiterate for those who didn't listen to last episode, this shit came out last year. She was 65 years old. Her debut novel.
I love that so much.
New York bestseller. New York Times bestseller. She was 65. It's never too late, kids. Never too late. And then I started and finished Suddenly a Murder by Lauren Munoz. Highly recommend. If you like Clue, if you like Knives Out, it's a YA book, but Rocket, my husband, we listened to it on our way up and our way back, and I'm a tough critic. He's super tough. And he's like, yeah. He's like, that was cool. It wasn't like, oh my God. But it was good. And the reason why it came out in September. I got an early copy way, way early, but I didn't get to it till now because I'm going to have a conversation with her for Word to Your Mama in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
so I don't think her episode is going to drop. We're going to record in December, but I don't think it's going to drop till January. And I was like, I want to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I asked, they gave me a early access to a digital arc, and they're like, if you want Penguin Random House, reach out to me directly.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. They reached out directly, and they're like, we would love you to have her on. And I was like, well, I don't just have anybody on. Like, I want to like their work or at least read their work, So I asked, I was like, is there any chance I have access to like an audio? The reader that's the acting, it makes or breaks an audiobook. And she did an amazing job. I can't remember her name right now, but anyways, I'm going to surprise the author by having the actress that read it a little comment. I was like, what do you think? And so she's like, what is your, but what, have that section of questions and comments from the audience. So she's one of them, but I recommend.
I love that.
So she's, a lawyer. I'm going to find out more about her, but she's a lawyer who turned into a writer, and this is her debut novel. And she's really into that era of stuff. And it's teens, modern day teens that go to a rich school And of course, there's the one Mexican chick that's in there for scholarship because her mom works at the school. But her best friend is one of the richest people ever, and they love old timey films. So they go to this island where the house is where it was filmed at, and they do where they dress up in the times, and then it turns into like a Clue whodunit murder mystery. And it was a good time. So
I love that.
So finish that, Suddenly a Murder by Lauren Munoz. And then I also finished The Deepest Well, Healing the Long-Term Effects of Childhood Trauma and Adversity by Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, who is Jamaican American, right? So it's a Black woman. But if you don't know, if that name doesn't ring a bell, she's also California's first ever Surgeon General.
Oh.
Yes. So the reason why I know about ACEs in general, which is adverse childhood experiences, there's a test you could take to see, and she did all this research on it. So when I was doing research on ACEs, then I ran into her, and I want to have her on. I reached out to her after I read the book, but amazing. If you've read Body Keeps a Score, that's what I used to recommend. Now it's this one. Now it's this one. Yes.
Okay.
It breaks it. She breaks down the research into layman's terms, but also what she's done for the community and how she came about this and how she wanted to make sure that it's not just poor Black and brown folks, but this is a universal topic, and this affects all of us in the same way research shows, right? So it's an amazing book. I totally recommend it. It is on the Word to Your Mama mental health resources list. There's a page that there'll be a link to it in the show notes. But yeah, I loved it. Loved it.
Huh. Okay. That's
and she
really
reads
great.
it herself, but she does an amazing job reading it. And you feel it when it's a sad part. She sounds sad, and it because she's reliving it, and it's just like, oh, okay. So, anyways, recommend. And so now I'm looking to see what's my next books. I'm excited to see what I'm going to be listening to, because that's the only way, kids. Because if I try to read at night, I'm asleep in 2 pages.
Yeah, same. I have both. I have like 5 credits on Audible. And probably 5 credits on Libro. And so
you have a lot.
I know. I need to find things that I need to listen to.
Yeah, well, there's 2. You've already read Lessons in Chemistry. And then for those who have Spotify Premium, if you didn't know, because I don't think they did a really good job of promoting it, you get, I think I mentioned this last time, you get 15 hours of audiobooks, and it's access to the latest and greatest. So
that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Nice that you can like even use it just to listen to something for an hour and be like, am I into this before I go sink my money on it?
Exactly. I really love that. And then you could pace, because like I started listening to Leslie Jones' biography, in which she doesn't go off the book. She tells a story like she's just telling the story. And like Chris Rock does she's like, they were so mad at me doing it because they're like, that's not on the book. And they're like, but then she's telling such a great story. She just kind of like uses her book as a guide, like an outline.
I mean, I think it's kind of genius because then you want both. Yeah.
And Chris Rock does the forward with her, and it's funny how they interact with each other when they're doing it. So yeah, we were like driving back. We had finished Suddenly a Murder. We're like, oh, let's listen to Leslie Jones, and then we're like, that's chapter 1. And then I saw her on a podcast, and then she was like, I was telling Rock, I was like, that's why it was chapter 1. She went above and beyond, probably like the book. She just was going off, ripping off, So, anyways. Anything else before we end the 2023s, T.I.?
No. Whatever holidays are left to celebrate, I hope that you, our gentle listeners, are celebrating those and that you are ready for a really amazing 2024.
Yeah, let's kill it. Let's do this. I hope you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. And we'll see the next Nerd Out in 2024.
Peace out, nerds.
Peace out, nerds. Make sure to follow Word to Your Mama on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream your podcast, or download the Latina Podcasters Network app.